Ooh, hey, yo. Rest in peace and say goodbye to the bad guy. Rest in peace, Scott Hall. Yeah, man. But this is knockouts and 3 counts. Priest, it's been a while, my man, but we got a lot to talk about tonight. We've got the return of our buddy, the Legacy Mathew Priest. How the fuck you doing, man?
Not too shabby, hanging in there. How are you gentlemen doing?
Hey, I'm breathing. I'd like to fight a few people, but that's another story for another time. What about y'all two?
I had a good Tuesday. Got to enjoy the weather for the most part after spending my morning fixing a freezer door. So was inside a cooler at about 20 degrees for about 4 hours this morning. But after that, I got to enjoy the nice weather. Got to sparkle up the bike, get it ready for the season. Got me a new battery and stuff. So just plucking away at all the things that need to be done before biking season starts back up.
Shit, my weekend wasn't as eventful, but I'm here. I'm hanging out, man. That's about all I got. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah, I can't say I had quite the eventful weekend, but boy, am I about to have the eventful fucking week come Thursday. It ain't going to be happy St. Patty's Day for your boy. But, yeah, I'm getting my damn teeth yanked out this week, man. I'm about to be cutting promos like got air in my mouth and shit. I don't know, man.
You'll live.
Shut the fuck up, man. I'm really upset about that. Joel Bateman, if you hear this, damn it, I was fully intending to fucking do a shoey, and it really hurts my feelings. I kind of wanted to, like, channel my inner Tai Tuivasa, but, you know, Joel Bateman isn't the only person who we've had on the show. I mean, Priest, you had quite the background to live up to if you caught our episode with Lindsay Snow from Thursday. She was trying her best pool fucking, I don't know what... The best part is if I could have showed you the blooper reel before we started of her trying to set that shit up and find the shit to make her camera sit up, it was the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah, so I was like, I'll just pull this thing on the couch, keep the laid back vibes going. But it's Michigan. I don't have no friggin' pool. I'm not in Florida.
Yeah, I'm upset.
She might win best podcast setup of the year if you ask me.
No doubt about it. Hard to top. I'll just keep her, take her vibes, bring them to a nice little couch. That's all I can do.
You're not kidding, dude. And for anybody who's watching in, hey, man, we're talking about where we're at. Let us know where you're checking in from. If you're watching from Canada or Florida like Kathy and Lindsay, or right here in Michigan, you need to be at BCWA, which we're going to get to that in a few minutes. But as you noticed, our intro to the show was a little bit different. Obviously, there was some somber news that came out pretty much last night, but has really kind of crossed the airwaves for most of today. As most people know, we lost the bad guy. You know, he said, bad times don't last, but bad guys do. I mean, like I said, I think all three of us can agree his legacy will stick around forever. But with that being said, Priest, I'll let you go first. I mean, what are your thoughts on one Scott Hall and Razor Ramon, and what do you think? What are your favorite moments, and what kind of legacy do you think he leaves on wrestling?
Scott Hall's a big reason the business is at where it's at right now. He changed the landscape of the pro wrestling business for the workers, for the wrestlers. In the early 90s, contracts were a lot of handshake agreements. There was no set in stone type contracts. I mean, guys had deals, but they weren't what they are now. And really, it was like when Hall and Nash went to WCW, changed the complete dynamic for financial stability for a lot of workers, and just the whole premise. I mean, you already did have Hogan there, and you had Savage there who had signed deals. But as far as creating the Monday Night War, which allowed talent to go back and forth and create a bidding war and making the premium for talent to go up, which to where we are at today, Scott Hall he should get a lot more credit than I think he gets for that. But to me, he single-handedly, changed the business. That promo on Nitro was huge. I mean, as a kid, Razor Ramon, was there. And I mean, I remember Scott Hall from AWA days. I'm a little older. But I mean, I seen him in AWA. Him and Kurt Hennig as the tag team, and then Cowboy Scott Hall, the Diamond Stud. So I mean, I saw his whole career, deceptively large. Scott Hall,
he's fucking huge.
In that era, he looked like an average size guy because he could work his ass off. He was great bell to bell. There wasn't too many guys that could hang with him bell to bell. And then it was easy to forget that this dude's 6'7", 280. And then, you look at the guys on TV today, he would tower over 95% of them and he'd be a giant. So it's kind of like the Billy Gunn syndrome in a way, but he's even bigger than Billy Gunn. So, but yeah, outstanding worker. I mean, his matches with, Bret Hart, my favorite all time, but his matches with Bret Hart, my favorite Razor matches. Yeah, I mean, I can't say much more about the impact that he left in the business. I did get to meet Scott Hall a couple times. I got to see him in locker rooms and stuff. And, he wasn't in the best place of his life when I got to meet him, but he was always trying to help the young talent no matter what. From his littlest things, the thing that jumps out to me seeing him in a locker room was a guy's collar and elbow tie up, and just the things they did and the way they reacted off of it. And he just was collar, elbow, and tie up and people and telling them how to work off that. Guys who've been in the business for years and years and years, but Scott Hall, going over that in the locker room with guys, that really stood out to me is a big impact, and was happy I got to meet him and to see a veteran like that taking the time to work with young guys. Again, no matter what kind of state of mind he was in, it didn't matter. He still cared so much, was so passionate about the business that he was willing to take his time and teach guys, even if he was beating the shit out of a couple of them, but it was still important, valuable lessons, and I'll never forget that. And that's how I'll always remember Scott Hall is that was the human being of him.
It's funny you bring up his collar and elbow tie up, because that was one of the things that Tommy Dreamer and Bully Ray were talking about this morning on Busted Open. That was like how crisp everything he did was, like how his collar and his lockup every time, you could hear that snap. It had that crispness, every time he did it. And the crazy thing is, you bring up a great point. Like the number one thing you hear about Scott Hall when you listen to anybody, if you listen to X-Pac, Sean Waltman, 1-2-3 Kid, what he did for, X-Pac, you listen to, I mean, literally you could go down the list of guys that, he's helped. And when he was there, and the thing is, like you said, there was definitely a time where Scott Hall, obviously wasn't in the best of place, but what I'm happy about is it sucks that he had to go out the way he did, but at least I would like to think that at the end of his life, thanks to past guests of the show, which if you guys are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. DDP, helping him turn his life around. He really seemed to be in a great place, on his way out, and loved, and that's the thing you mentioned, that's the number one thing you've heard since he passed is just all the different people that he's helped, that he's impacted, that, if it weren't for Scott Hall, who knows? So go ahead.
That was going to be my note on it, and I know you had kind of preferenced it with your guys' three feelings on it. With me being more the MMA take on it, I wasn't quite as aware of him. Once looking back at the clips and stuff, I had put a name to the face, so I did at least recognize him at that point. But watching all the clips and stuff and everything that's been posted about him on Twitter and such, I mean, he had some serious fanfare still to this day. I mean, people are really, I don't, worked up isn't even like the right word, because I feel like they're just really, people are trying to do their best to respect what he had done for the world of wrestling, really, as a whole. I mean, they're just constantly posting clips, things that he had done inside and outside of the ring. And to your point, he just seemed to have helped so many people and touched so many people, both fans and people in the industry. So it's always unfortunate when you hear about, the quintessential bad guy who is actually a decent guy behind the scenes and tries to help people out and then ends up passing. It's always
say hello to Razor Ramon. Well, what are your thoughts on Razor Ramon, J-Bone?
Well, I mean, dude, he made it cool to be bad, didn't he? I mean, shit. As kids, Priest, back in the '90s, man. Bret Hart was my guy, dude. I cried as a 5-year-old when Bret Hart would lose. I cried when he won the IC title from Mr. Perfect. But when Razor came in '93, dude, I legit thought like, okay, my hero's done. Like this dude is gonna quote unquote carve him up. You know what I mean? So like from day one, dude, from when he was the Diamond Stud, the AWA days with Kurt Angle, like you were just pulled in by him. He just had what they called it in the business. He just had it. And like you said, man, just in a world of wrestling right now where everybody's opinions are so divided, and whether we like to admit it or not, everybody is divided, and we all have our different opinions. Nobody could say a bad thing about Scott Hall. We've seen him rise, we've seen him fall, and under God's grace, man, he got back up again. So the mark that he's leaving on the business inside and outside the ring, Priest, like you said, it's almost unmatched, man. So not too many bad things you could say about the bad guy.
I couldn't agree, man. For me, so I talked about this in a picture that I posted on social media, but like I'll never forget this day for many reasons. But it was Astronomicon. Shout out to Astronomicon. Hopefully coming up soon. We'll be back there, and you might stay tuned. You never know what comes from there. Hell, the last time I was there, we interviewed Brutus Beefcake, and our buddy James Campbell got his fucking haircut. So who knows what's going to happen to Astronomicon. But with that being said, we went there, and Devin and I got the great opportunity to be able to not only interview Booker T, but Brother Love and Eric Bischoff and Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were there, and I'll never forget it. I walked up to Kevin, and he had just had his knees, another one of his knee surgeries, and I asked him how his knees were, and he's like, "Yeah, well, you asked, so I gotta show you the pictures," and showing me like full on pictures of his knee. And I mean, when I tell you there was nothing fucking there, like there was no cartilage, there was no nothing. This dude's knees were just worn the fuck out. And he's showing me all this, but we got into this big conversation about like CBD and how it can help my Crohn's and all this stuff, and talking to Scott Hall, and like, dude, like you said, he's just a fucking cool dude. Like, if there's nothing else you could say about Scott Hall, he just would be a cool ass dude to fucking hang out with. What up, Donald? We're talking about Scott Hall. What are your thoughts about the bad guy? Anyway, like he couldn't have been cooler. And when you talk about, Priest, you talked about it a little bit. When you talk about legacies that somebody leaves on the business, I grew up right in the middle of the Monday Night War stuff. So for him to show up on WCW Nitro after everything that he had going on in WWE, being Razor Ramon and all that, and let's not negate the fact that not only did he jump to WCW, they jumped to WCW, dropped the name from WWF, and just went by his regular name. Now, obviously, if you watched him in WCW beforehand and AWA and those things, he was the big, the Diamond Stud and all that kind of shit. But dude, Scott Hall,
he was just Scott Hall in AWA, big Scott Hall.
Oh, Scott, yeah, right.
Well,
Scott,
he was only the Diamond Stud for a
short minute.
Like
short
Stud. I know a lot of people didn't like Diamond Stud, but I thought that shit was cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
whenever Vinny Vegas,
whenever you make it,
Diamond Mine, baby.
Yeah.
Whenever you make it to that point in wrestling where you're actually known by your name and you're not known by your stage name, that's always something to say,
Yeah, dude had a hell of a story, man. Even going before his wrestling career,
right?
I'm sure you guys seen the documentary on him. What a story!
Oh, Corey. Man. So okay, we could fill you in. I mean, like this guy has had like a wild fucking story from start to finish. Like Scott Hall, before he became a wrestler, dude. Like you go back and like, he was overseas for a while because his family was in the military. Like he grew up a good portion when he was a kid away from America, and then he's at a strip club who he was dating one of the girls at the club, and dude got jealous and got in a fight, and he had to shoot the dude at the damn strip club and got out of it on self-defense. Like this guy had a crazy fucking role, but
think
like
about that. If that went another way, there wouldn't be no Scott Hall in wrestling. Right. You know what I mean? So
Donald's hitting it with right on the head. My best memories of Scott Hall are with the matches with 1, 2, 3 Kid and Shawn Michaels and another one of those guys who should have been a world champion. I fucking agree. I don't know how the hell he never ended up world champion, especially being the fact that he was like a focal point of the NWO for like the longest fucking time. How he managed to stay away from getting the title is it's kind of interesting, being that shit. It seemed like if you were in the NWO at that point, dude, you like shit. They were like it. So I don't know, man. Like the impact that they had. Go ahead.
I was say the reason Scott Hall never became a world champion is just timing. Like, you know, WWF when he was coming up, he was a top IC guy. But right when they're starting to groom him to be, you know, he had the little program with Brett, got him over. But by '95, they were starting to groom him to be like a threat to the championship. And then he leaves. He goes to WCW. And then on WCW. You had Hogan, you had Savage, you had all the stars there. But then towards that 98, 99, you had Nash, you had Goldberg. Scott Hall could have been in that title picture then, but he also is outside the ring. You could not trust Scott Hall to be your world champion. Yeah. So his timing was just bad. And, you know, then his personal affairs got involved. But when you look back, it's easy to revisionist and look back and go, yeah, Scott Hall should have been a world champion. But when? Like, that's what I always say to people when people throw the argument out, like, used to always be with British Bulldog, and I'd be like, yeah, but when would you have put the belt on him? Because there was never a point in time. He was the top draw in the company and the focal point of a company. Yeah, he was a great worker, no mistakes about it. He was near the top of the card, but he never got to the top and solidified himself at the top of a company and maintained to where you could put the world championship on him. So again, I'll say when.
Yeah, one thing about Hall too is when he was on the IC title run, when he was, you know, taking on Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart and all that, man, Diesel, he made that belt important. You know what I mean? He was the top guy for that particular era for that title. And when you look back on Intercontinental Champions, I mean, sad to say, you can't really do it these days because that title don't really mean much now, and that sucks. But when you go back, he's, if not top 3 for me, I would say. I mean, the dude
for
made
sure.
That
and you go back,
very important.
You talk about the Intercontinental title, like, all right, Corey, I don't tell you to watch very many matches, but I'm gonna tell you to watch this one, because this one, even though it's back from, what was that, 94 when they had the ladder match between him and Shawn?
94 SummerSlam.
Yeah, WrestleMania
10, and then the 94 SummerSlam.
Right. So
number 95.
95 SummerSlam. Not as good.
Which one do you like? I was gonna say the WrestleMania one is the one to watch.
Yeah,
because
at the Garden,
dude,
of all places.
Like to this day, like I was listening to stories earlier, and Tommy Dreamer was talking about it. He said that Johnny Gargano was saying one of his best memories was they got to sit down with Shawn Michaels and Scott Hall and watch that match with them and have them explain why they did a lot of the shit that they did and why when I tell you, Corey, that ladder match was essentially the blueprint for ladder matches for like the next 10 to 15 years, at least for singles matches. And to this day is still always going to be a barometer of like ladder matches. Like that shit was dope. And like what J-Bone said, you know, like that Intercontinental title, dude, it fucking meant something. You had both of them bitches hanging there. Like you wanted to know what happened. And when he, like he said, when he was on that run with that Intercontinental title, dude, he was as hot as can be. That's why when he jumped to WCW and was able to go over there and get that big contract, that's why it was such a big thing. Because you got to think, with them going to WCW, you've got Scott Hall, a.k.a. Razor Ramon, who was, like Priest said, one of the biggest stars they had over there. And then when you add Kevin Nash, a.k.a. Diesel, who is a former world champion and had the longest WWF world title reign for the longest time, it's crazy to think. I mean, obviously in 2022, we see people jumping to AEW every day, but nobody was doing that the way that went down or had the impact that those two had when they showed up on WCW, I feel like.
Yeah, what really changed it was that, you know, Bischoff and WCW were smart enough to treat it like a shoot and bring it in as if it was a
invasion.
Yeah, exactly. They were invading the company because the internet was in its infancy. I mean, in 1996, I mean, I don't know the facts, but I didn't have me and my family did not have internet in 1996.
And there weren't many kids I had to go to school and check the results for wrestling, dude.
The only way you could get your results was, I mean, those are here in Michigan, is you called the 313-438 numbers. You could get lucky if you had like a magazine subscription. There were people who had observer subscriptions, but I mean, really, like, you were still, the element of surprise was still very much there. It wasn't going to beat you in the face with spoilers, and unless you checked the back page of the newspaper, and old ML Curley had written an article about Scott Hall and Kevin Nash's contracts being up, you had no idea. So you were able to get away with that on live television with the shocking. To this day, my mom still thought it was like, a shoot. That, he was with WWF when he showed up there. Like, he wasn't there. Like, she believed then. And, to this day, she still believes, even though I've told her a million times, like, no, it's not how it worked, Mom. But, that was the shock and awe factor in 96 that you could get away with. And, that's a big part of why, like, wrestling just became, to me, you just got to stay away. If you want to be a fan, you have to stay away from the dirt sheets.
Yeah.
I can't argue that rating at all. What do you think? You agree with the rating from Cage Match? Rates at a 9.4, the match between Shawn and Razor at WrestleMania 10. I mean,
oh yeah, that ladder match is
that's about as good as you can get, dude. Like,
yeah, that's a great ladder match. It's like you said, it's the blueprint for all singles ladder matches. Before that match, I mean, like the ladder match came from Stampede Wrestling. That's where it originated. That's where it started. I could be wrong here, but the first one, I believe, was who was the older brother? I believe it was Keith Hart and Junkyard Dog when he was just.
I was gonna say, wasn't he was in there as Sylvester Ritter, wasn't he?
Yeah, and they had.
Look at that! It was before I even born, and I knew it.
And I know Jake Roberts and Big Sylvester Ritter had a ladder match as well in Stampede, and it was just a staple of Stampede Wrestling was the ladder match. So as it evolved through the years, and Brett was the guy who said, "Hey, let me and Shawn have a ladder match." They did it on house shows, but the way ladder matches were before WrestleMania 10 was you pretty much just wrestled a match, you beat your opponent up, then you climbed the ladder to win, and then if the guy pulled you off the ladder, like the ladder wasn't used as a weapon, except for maybe one spot to set up the finish. That match at WrestleMania 10 set it up where the ladder was involved every step of the way and changed, like to your point, Kyle, changed the blueprint of the ladder match because of it. But if you watch any ladder match before 1994, it's a very different style ladder match.
I have no argument. That's why I said, Corey, if I'm gonna tell you to watch something, you talk about worth watching. That match, that match is as good as it gets as far as singles ladder matches.
Hey, go back and watch a bunch of Razor Ramon. We're not even talking Scott Hall stuff in WCW, because this goes way past that. Once he gets to WCW and then the tag team stuff with the Outsiders, dude, it's all just it's a golden
icing on the cake,
a golden body of wrestling work, bro. It's art. So
you got to go back and watch his promos,
you get a
dude.
Chance,
like,
take the time to do that. It's something special, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean his whole. I mean, the most, it's crazy because to the majority of fans, his run on television mainstream was really only from like 92 to 2002, maybe 2003. It was like a 10-year run on national television. Yeah, the AWA was around a little bit before that, but WCW was there in early 92, and then Razor Ramon late 92, and then when he worked with Austin, was that WrestleMania?
That's another good one.
Yeah.
That's 2002.
Watch that squirt bottle.
By 03, he's gone. Yes, Rick Martell and Razor Ramon had phenomenal chemistry. Rick Martell, one of the most underrated workers of all time, one of my favorites.
The model, Rick Martell.
That match for the IC belt, Donald, that saw you pop up there. If that's the match, I believe it was October of 93. They did a battle royal the week before, setting up Martell and Razor for the Intercontinental Championship. And that's what turned that whole sequence is what turned Razor Ramon to be a babyface from being, their groom heel, the heel that would get the babyfaces ready to the next level. Then it flipped him to be, the number 3 babyface in the company when he beat Rick Martell for that hell of a match. Great match call out there. My favorites is him and Bret Hart King of the Ring 93 is
Can't
good.
go
The Royal
wrong
Rumble
with that
93 is my favorite Razor match.
Royal Rumble 93. Same here, man. That's like I said, my hero was about to fall. Luckily, Bret Hart got that one, but
Yes.
I was convinced.
You
We're
know,
going to talk a little bit about Bret Hart when I get to my WWE 2K22 fucking review, because we'll talk about
one more thing on Scott Hall, which might be a good transition point here, is his influence is felt across the whole industry. I mean, we see guys, you can see his blueprints on guys on television, but a little bit of a funny story is Bill Martell wrestles in BCWA. He has, under his boots, he wears Razor Ramon socks. They're purple. And the Razor Ramon socks that he got like 2 or 3 years ago, every match he's had for the last year and a half, 2 years, he's had Razor Ramon socks under his boots. And it's just, the irony there. But yeah, his influence has been impacted by so many people, especially in our generation. And like I said, you see it on TV. You see a guy, like the first time I saw Baron Corbin work and he threw punches, I'm like, well, he's a Scott Hall guy. He's clearly influenced by Hall, but yeah.
Not to mention, if you look at like Raquel Gonzalez,
there it is.
You ain't
Is
kidding.
he not one of the coolest looking motherfuckers in the world, dude? I mean, come on.
I mean, dude, if you even look at NXT right now, I mean, Raquel Gonzalez calls herself, that she goes after Diesel. But Damian Priest wears like all Scott Hall inspired shit. I mean, he was even doing the Razor's Edge for the longest time.
And the walk.
Like that's
the surfer walk.
Yeah, dude. How many of us haven't done that walking through a door?
Just that.
You know what I mean? I do that walking in from a night out, that's how I roll, man.
And then, like he said, one of our past guests of the show, Isaiah Broner, with the black and red blood tights, bro. Mm-hmm. Like I said, rest in peace, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, Chico. Hope you got that golden toothpick up there in the sky, brother, man. But hey, since we're talking about good shit, BCWA is getting ready to make their return, this Saturday at the Copeland Center, if I'm not mistaken. What are your thoughts on the return of BCWA, man?
It's exciting. We took a couple months off, COVID. Definitely that second wave. It was funny because the first wave of COVID, BCWA was the first company to pull the plug on shows. Then as we're going forward, we do a show in, I believe it was October and November. And then it's like that second wave was coming in December. And it's like, we'll hold back on December, January, February. Now that's kind of, we've kind of moved past that. So here we are in March, ready to move forward. A lot of surprises, I think, in store. Maybe some spoilers already out of the bag. I don't know for sure. I stay off the social medias on that stuff. But there's some surprises in store, some returns. We've got very interesting title picture. So when we returned back in October, champion was Frogun from the last show in 2020. Frogun couldn't make the show, and we'd promised the fans there'd be a championship match. He couldn't make the show, so we crowned a new champion that night. Happened to be Justin Maine. Fast forward to the November show, Justin Maine gets sick. The virus, no one could. It's coming for everybody, right? So he couldn't make it to the show, so we're like, well, we promised a title match. We had Alex Weir and TJ Meyer battling for the championship. Two young guys,
good match,
taking BCWA back to its roots. They main evented. They tore the house down. TJ comes out on top. He's the new BCWA champion. So here we are in March. We got TJ Meyer as a champion. Word on the street is Frogan's laying claim to the crown. Who knows if Justin Maine's going to be there? Who knows what's going to happen? You've got three guys that are all claiming to be the BCWA champion, and that takes us right into Slam Masters this Saturday, March 19th, 6 p.m., Copeland Center, Wyandotte, Michigan. You also, got the tag team champions, Studio 86 are going to be there, and there's a match in the works. From what I understand, a dream match for some folks that they've been wanting to see for a while here with another team that's been a staple in the Michigan area that's calling them out. So we'll see if that match happens. The only way to find out is to be there, but seems to be the case that we're going to get this dream match people have been talking about on this very podcast, I believe.
I mean, there's a lot of good things that can be talked about on this podcast. So if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Donald, you got to give BCWA another chance. I totally feel you if you got the VIP tickets and didn't get it. Well, he said he had a VIP ticket and somebody took his seat, so I can't blame you for being pissed about that. But
let Mike know. Mike Blackwell will make sure that takes you'll get taken care of.
I was going to say Blackwell's usually good on that stuff, but I know Donald's always showing love to the indies, so I know if he's saying it's a good chance.
The fans, I mean, of all the companies I've worked with in Michigan, BCWA cares about the fans the most, and I'm not just blowing smoke. Like that's straight up. I've worked for everybody, and BCWA cares about the fans the most. There's a rule there where we don't make fans get up out of their seats. If a wrestler tells a fan to get up out of his seat, he ain't going to get brought back. We have a lot of free giveaways, and we do a lot for the fans, and we cater our product to the fans, like more than any other company I've worked with. A lot of companies don't care. I know there was a scary incident over this weekend at an indie show.
Okay.
Indie show here in Michigan.
Okay, I was at that indie show. Okay. Yeah. All right. So since you talked about it, I guess we'll talk about it. So, all right. Alex Weir, who you just mentioned. Now, first of all, I want to touch a little bit on what you said with the last BCWA show. Fucking banger of a match between TJ Meyer and Alex Weir. I have sung the praises of Alex Weir for a while. I've been really impressed by what I see from Alex Weir. I think TJ Meyer is another definite standout of the Michigan scene for sure, especially from what I've seen. So definitely was a banger. Definitely looking forward to seeing what happens at BCWA, especially with the return of our homie, the Frogun. I mean, hey, Frogun's been on the show a bunch of times. Like I said, I fuck with the Frogun. But he's going to have his hands full with weaponized Alex Weir. All right. So talking about said show. All right. I was there. First of all, shout out to Alex Weir and Matt Taven and gut check winner Jason Hotch. The main event was fucking banger. I'm gonna put that out there. Shout out to Bubba and Metro Pro Wrestling. That was an absolute banger. I don't know how else to put it. Matt Taven got in the ring and cut a promo about both of those guys. Like I said, definitely was a banger. And I tried to reach out. We went and talked with Taven. So hopefully you might find out why he's Matt Taven real soon. But with that being said, yeah, shit got a little fucking hairy. I have been to a lot of wrestling shows, both indie shows. I've been to the biggest shows you can go to. Hell, ring the bell. I'm on the way to WrestleMania soon, but hot damn, I'm just going to throw this out there for anybody who is listening to this, who might be a fan of wrestling. If you can't handle a heel getting in your face and razzing you a little bit and riling you up and not doing anything that was really out of the way, then pro wrestling might not be for you, homie. Like I'm just saying, because I was there. Essentially what happened, Jonte was outside the ring, riling this dude up. The guy was already drunk. The guy was chirping back and forth once Jonte said something. So Jonte threw a towel, just, like an old Mr. Perfect deal, if nothing else. He just threw his towel at the guy. Like, he didn't hit him or none of that. This guy, I don't know if he was already drunk ahead of time, but he did not take that very well and got up and started trying to swing and all this dumb shit. And oh my God, when I say the old lady who, if you hear this, I hope you're okay. I hope your legs are okay. I hope everything's all right. But dude, when you talk about like the perfect pro wrestling fan, this woman was so fucking into it. She was heckling the shit out of these dudes. And it was the best thing in the world to see, because she's like this big around and just yelling and screaming and swinging her towel at him. And she was really getting into it. But basically, obviously, as you guys know, some dumb shit happened, fight happened, and the chair got jammed back into the lady's legs. And like I said, she's like this big around. So they took her out on a stretcher. It was, yeah. Wow. Yeah, it was. The boys were there. It didn't end well. Yeah. I mean, no need to really talk much more about that. But as far as the matches itself,
I could go on and on, but I'm not. I'm going to be respectful here because You're professional wrestlers for a reason, so be professional as well, no matter how bad a fan gets you riled up. It does,
Well, the guy swung on him though. That was the thing. Like the guy got up and
learn
ran
how to
up
get
and
heat
swung.
the right way. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
learn how to get
I
heat
get
the
that.
Right way.
Guys
don't know how to get heat anymore. Guys don't know how to work. A lot of these guys that get in the ring, and I'm going to get heat for this. I don't really give a shit. But like a lot of these young workers, they don't know how to work the crowd properly. So they get in the ring, and it's almost like they want to get into a fight. They know they're not out there to entertain and get real heat. They're out there to like pick a fight, and they want to be a bully, and they want to be Billy Badass and tough guy. I'm not saying in this particular incident, I wasn't there, I didn't see it, but I have seen it on other shows where guys get in the back and they get reprimanded by the boys because it's like, what are you doing? You aren't going out there and working properly. You're instigating a fight. You're setting up a fight with a fan, and that's not what this business is about. You fight the guy in the ring. You don't fight the people on the floor. Can you get the people worked up through heat? Put the fucking heat on the babyface in the ring. Put the heat on your opponent in the ring. Make the people want to see you kick his ass, not the mark in the front row's ass. So that's where I have a problem. Whenever there's a physical altercation with fans and wrestlers, it's a 50-50 split. It's never the fans, 100% the fans' fault. It's never 100% the workers' fault. To me, it's both the guys' faults on an indie show when workers get in fans' faces because there's better ways to get heat than that. I've insinuated riots in rings.
Okay, now Donald just said what started it.
Shut the hell up. Let me finish. Just as recently as September, I instituted a riot where I had water bottles thrown in the ring from fans. I didn't have one fan try to attack us. I had people pissed off, the entire fan base pissed off, but there wasn't one guy that was going to come try to fight me and try to fight the guys I was with in the ring because that is how you get heat. And you get everybody, and then who comes out and make the save? Before any fan can hit the ring, the baby face comes out. And then now the people have someone to cheer for. They fucking hate me. They hate my boys. But no one wants to kick our ass because they want to see the guy who came out the back kick our ass. That's pro wrestling. That's what it should be. Sorry.
I agree with that completely. But so the part that Donald's talking about, I didn't see that from where I was standing because I was standing in the back. He said what started it is the guy that was drunk and being stupid, apparently pants Jonte, and Jonte punched the dude. So I didn't see that part. But like I said, either way, the shit got out of hand. But as far as the wrestling itself, like I said, shout out to Alex Weir, shout out to Matt Taven. That shit was dope. I'm looking forward to BCWA. That shit's going to be dope. I don't know what we're going to see. I don't even need to know what we're going to see on the card. I know Uncle Chase has probably got a lot to say with that Alliance Championship and all those good things there. Like I said, I mean, Priest hit the nail on the head with what you said as far as, I mean, J-Bone, I think you'd agree. I mean, even with BCWA maybe not even being the biggest indie show around Michigan, dude, they always have a fun crowd. Doesn't matter how many people are in there. Even in the Copeland Center, which isn't the biggest arena, every time that crowd is there, they're going. It's a good time. Like I said,
it is a good time, man, and always great wrestling too. Always great wrestling. I love the guys there. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing Uncle Chase too. I'm curious to see how he's doing after his.
I was going to say, do you think he's going to survive his bachelor party?
Weekend-long adventure. As far as I know, he survived, so he'll be there this Saturday. As far as I know.
Good to hear.
Yeah, he'll be defending the Alliance Championship. He's got an Alliance Championship match Friday night
against Blake, right?
As well. Yes. So Blake, he may not be the Alliance champion coming into Saturday at the Cope. It could be Blake, and Blake is scheduled to be at the BCWA show as well. So who knows who our Alliance champion is going to be come Saturday? And if you can't make the show, I think the show's in Coldwater, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a bit of a hike for a lot of fans. But yeah, the championship's going to be defended there. And we might have a new champ come Saturday, and then we might have another new champ on Saturday because the Alliance Championship will be defended as well.
Digital Wrestling Alliance. There you go. That's where they're wrestling at. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we've been talking a lot of wrestling news about good things, right? For the most part, other than of course the passing. But what about the less than fortunate news with our whole our boy Big E taking the fall?
Oh,
so
fuck, that was gnarly.
God.
That was fucking gnarly.
You know what? No, look, here's one way I look at it, man. And as wrestling fans, we all know absence makes the heart grow fonder. So I'm hoping because I feel like he's had a string of bad luck when it comes to his booking and just the way he's been built up to Mania. I'm hoping that the time off creates a bigger buzz for his return, and hopefully he gets a better hand on the booking and everything. I hope that's the case for Big E, man.
I hope he can return, because the C6 will fuse properly. That will heal. No one wants to have a neck injury, but a C1, that's a career that can be a career-ending injury. It's a fracture. He's a big guy, a big thick neck, so we'll see. But I hope that 6 to 8 months from now we're getting good updates on that. I'm staying optimistic, but
Did they
that
say
C1 is scary. That's a scary one.
Did he require surgery? I didn't catch the
no
update.
surgery required.
Yeah, that's what I seen.
Because they're hairline fractures, but yeah.
And he said he can still move everything, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The thing with the C1 though is where it's at in your neck. Is it so high up that it doesn't, like, whenever there's damage to it, it doesn't fuse together. Like, if you were to break your forearm and you're cast and it fuses together just fine, your bone actually gets a little bit stronger. The C6 is lower. It'll do that. The C1's so high up and it's so small that it has a harder time of doing that. And the worry is that with other injuries, because I believe it was who was saying about it? They were I think it might have been Kurt Angle, who said when his C1 broke, he was glad it broke and they did the surgery because they were able to clean all that out, and they were basically able to put like a metal disc in there. But when they don't do a surgery and they don't remove it and replace it with something else, like, there's still risk of like bone chips, because it's so close to your spinal cord that a bone could chip off and hit your spinal cord and cause worse damage. So we hope that heals really well. And like you said, J-Bone, when he comes back, that pop's gonna be huge. You hope he's back ready for Royal Rumble and can get hot shot into WrestleMania season. But Bray, one of the best humans this business has ever seen. Almost too nice of a guy to be in the pro wrestling business. And it's those damn overhead belly to belly suplexes. I cringe whenever I see them to this day. No matter how many times I've seen thousands and thousands and thousands go right, it's like the scariest bump to me.
You're not kidding, dude. And I mean, to piggyback off of what you said, I mean, shout out to the homie Mega Ran. I was just talking to him about this last night, but I mean, you're not kidding. Like, for as big a star as Big E is and all that stuff, like, I haven't yet gotten to meet him. Hopefully, maybe we can make that happen at WrestleMania if he's even around. But like I say, Rand's talked about it at length with me. It's like, dude, like, he's just a cool fucking dude. And like, it just, I don't know, man, it's always a bummer. Not that you ever want to see anybody get hurt, but like, to see, especially the timing of it, right? The guy finally gets his shot as the world champion, doesn't really get to I don't want to say get to have a real run with it, but it didn't really get pushed the way other guys did. And due to what they had to deal with COVID and everything else too. And then to just up and move him over to SmackDown, they're not calling him the New Day anymore. And then to have your neck broke like that on such, like you said, a move that we've seen fucking thousands of times. And then think about this. You'd be a perfect person to ask about this. What do you think goes through the mind of a guy like Ridge Holland, with something like that? Because if you watch it, you can immediately see the look on his face. He's like trying to stay in it, but he's like crawling over immediately to see if he's all right. And it's like, I could only imagine you just get put on the main roster from NXT and all that shit, and then you hurt one of the cash cows like that, dude. Fuck.
No matter who it is, that's the worst feeling in the world. Anytime you injure an opponent in the ring, like, I take it back to like D'Lo and Draws. When D'Lo with the power around the Draws, they did it together a ton of times. Just one little thing happens, and D'Lo wanted to quit wrestling after that for a long period of time. And that's going to have a major psychological effect on a guy like, Ridge Holland as well. And he's had a bad string of luck with his own personal injuries and the injury there. And to me, the belly-to-belly suplex, like I said, is a very dangerous move. I know a lot of fans immediately want to blame Ridge Holland. It's a freak accident. It's not anybody's fault. You're putting your body on the line with what you do. It takes two to tango. You're doing it on the outside of the ring. Just a lot of variables there for it to go wrong. But it sucks for Ridge Holland. I was happy to hear that he was one of the guys who was the first guy at the hospital to visit Big E, and he was there for a really, really long time. And that's good because you are sick. And even when it's a minor injury, I know people who've accidentally broke somebody's nose with a stray kick or elbow, and they're going to, they'll go to the hospital, send the flowers, send a fruit bag check. Yeah, that's just what we do. That's just a part of the business. And no matter how innocent an injury is, you feel awful. It's gut wrenching, and psychologically it makes you question if you should be doing, because the first thing you're taught, the number one rule is you want to return that person your job. And that person's putting their livelihood on the line with you when you get in the ring, that trust factor there, and you are taking responsibility to return them home to their family just how they left them. And you don't want to be the reason that they can't do that. So it definitely sucks. It sucks for both guys. It sucks for the fans. It sucks for everybody. It's a really shitty situation, and we just got to hope Big E pulls through. And like J-Bone said, it comes back better, bigger, better, and stronger than ever.
All right, so let's take things to a little bit of like a sign of better times and all those things. Before I get your thoughts as we go into WrestleMania, Corey, you and I were talking about this a little bit on Xbox yesterday. I, for one, have been diving my head back into like the video game stuff because I literally had nothing to do, and I saw all the shit on Twitter about WWE 2K22, and I played the last one that came out, and it fucking sucked. And so when I heard that this one was supposed to be so much better and the graphics and all the stuff, I had to see what all the hype was about. So before I give you my fucking thoughts on it, all three of you guys, did you guys ever play any of the video games? Were you a fan of said video games? And if so, what were some of your favorites? And you can't just say because Scott Hall just passed WCW versus NWO Revenge.
Well,
Wait, what?
So
how can you not say that?
I was talking to you, Kyle. I guess I'll lead the way because, of course, I have the least amount of experience. I'm at least under assumption that I have the least amount of experience with the wrestling game. That being said, I had even noted to Kyle that was one of my favorite things about wrestling growing up was the games, because no matter what you wanted to do, no matter how you wanted to build the matches, you could put whoever you wanted against each other. You could have your buddy on the controller.
Ding dong, he hit my favorite.
To pick a necessary favorite game, I honestly don't know. Yeah, 64 one was great. I remember putting tons of time into that one. But, I mean, there were so many. Honestly, my favorite experience with the WWE games was always going to somebody else's house, seeing which copy of whatever one of the games that they would have, play theirs for a couple hours, and then a couple weeks later have them at my house to play out my version.
So you wanted to give them a chance so that they could kick your ass on their game and then bring them to your house so you could fuck them up on your own game. I see what you're saying.
No, the games back then, as somebody who spends entirely too much time playing video games, they were just entirely different back then. It was like I don't know if it was like less anticipation or if it was like there was just less money being circulated in the gaming industry. So people were willing to take more chances or whatever the case, but the games were just better. It seemed like there's more choices. Things weren't so across the board, I guess, where there was less GTA 5 style where it's, covers all bases. Games were very focused back then. And the wrestling games were home runs, man. They were always fun to play with. Like I say, my favorite times was just getting somebody next to me and just seeing who they'd pick, who were they fans of that they wanted to wrestle with in the game and shit like that. There was just so many nuances of it. So to see that they're at least trying to make the new one better with taking the year in between and stuff like that.
Well, that last game got shit on like royal. So
last game was horrible.
I can appreciate the fact that they took the year off. It tried to actually make the game playable for all these fans that were hating so bad 2 years ago. And I'm genuinely excited. I know you guys both kind of put some serious time over the weekend. So what's your guys' thoughts? I mean, keep going with the question at hand, but I am excited for your thoughts.
I'll give those in a second. J-Bone, what about you and Priest? Do you guys play any of them at all?
I'm holding off, dude. I don't have a lot of faith in it, but from what I'm hearing over the past week, it's a pretty good game. The roster's deep, considering who's on it and who's not really in the company anymore. But if we're gonna
Yeah,
go
we'll
back,
talk about that.
if we're gonna go back to video games, man, like when I was a kid, I was playing.
Def
the
Jam
Nintendo
was the shit.
64.
Yeah.
I was playing the
Back
Nintendo
here too,
64.
both of them.
WrestleMania 2000, WCW, NWO World Tour was one of my favorites, man. I used to get
WrestleMania
blisters
2000
from,
was a banger too.
I used to get blisters on my hand from hitting that up C button on the 64 controller, trying to get out of the cage and shit. They used to fuck me all up. But my personal favorite was Royal Rumble for Sega Genesis. That was my all-time favorite. That was the best wrestling video
Wasn't
game.
expecting that one.
Not to expose my age or anything. I ain't trying to tell you I'm old or nothing. But
well, since you're new here, I
6.
mean, since you're newer here, I mean, you know, even in the original incarnation of the show, I was always the youngest one. I mean, fuck, Devin, Kyle, and Kevin used to make jokes all the time, like they had to bring their little brother around and shit. So fuck y'all, Devin. I'll see you in Vegas, in Texas. Save me a seat on the couch since I got you a seat at WrestleMania. I mean, nice trade-off. But anyways, my thoughts on WWE 2K22. All right, first of all, my favorite game as far as wrestling games go, it's got to be one of two. So WrestleMania 2000, like you mentioned, was a good one. But for me, my favorite Nintendo 64 game will always be No Mercy, because I probably played that fucking story probably like 10,000 fucking times with every person that was on that bitch. But if it isn't that one, my personal favorite might have to be on the PlayStation 2, SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. It was the first bigger system that I had got. I got it Christmas Day, and I'll never forget because it was Madden 2003 come out, and I was playing the shit out of it. It was the one that had Marshall Faulk on the cover, and I was playing the shit out of it. And then as soon as I got my game, I played that bitch for as long as I could throughout the night. And I'll never forget, because I've said this I don't know how many times. Now, this tells you kids who don't have to deal with this kind of shit. You remember when you used to have a memory card for the PlayStations? My mom and them bought me a PlayStation 2, and they bought me the game I wanted, but they didn't buy me a memory card. So I left the game on, because you know how crucial it was once you started the story mode. I couldn't lose my fucking progress in the game, because otherwise I was going to have to do that shit all over again. I had that PlayStation on for so long that I remember my dad walking downstairs. This is back when I had my PlayStation in the basement. And he came downstairs and the PlayStation was so hot. He's like, it was so hot, I thought I had to turn it off. I was like, no. Fuck. Dude, if you played any of those games, you know the feeling that I'm talking about in my stomach. I was like, I just was like, fuck. I sat up all night.
Drop to your knees, like, no.
Yeah, like that was the one that had the draft and all that shit. And I just was like, oh my God, no. So yeah, those were some of my favorites as far as the games. But like you said, WWE 2K22 has been getting some decent reviews so far. I'm not gonna lie to you. The number one thing that jumps out to me, especially in the story mode, is the amount of motherfuckers that are in this game that are not in the company anymore. Even clear down to the commentary, the ring announcer, when you got Greg Hamilton, who got a little too big for his britches and called out West Side Gun and got let go because of all that stuff. You got him in there. But I'll go through a little bit of the things that I've gotten to go through. I haven't gone through everything. I played some of the showcase mode with Rey Mysterio. We know he's your cover guy. I really like that because you have to do like the objectives and stuff. But I like that at least the matches I played so far. Like the first one you play is a given. You play Ray versus Eddie at WCW Halloween Havoc, and then like throughout the match as you complete the objectives, like there's different like clips of the match and shit like that. So I've always, Priest, I think I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but for me that's one of my like all-time favorite matches. Like I could watch that match now.
Is that the one where he's in the purple
yes.
like
yes
bodysuit? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Classic.
You're not kidding. That was a fucking banger. You start there. The next match you play, I only have played a few matches into the showcase. I played a lot more of the My Rise, like the campaign, but like you go from there to facing Eddie at WrestleMania 21 when they faced off, when they were the tag champs. And then it skips right to when the night Eddie died, where he faced Shawn Michaels. So like it goes all over the place. I like the objectives. Now, the objectives definitely make winning those matches a lot fucking harder. I'm just going to say, I'm not, dude. So you have to complete all the objectives in order to get all the shit. And it's like, man, trying to do that all while not getting your ass kicked and pinned is a pain in the ass because you got to do like the same thing like 100 times before you can get it done. So I like the showcase. I definitely still got more to play. I definitely played more of the My Rise, but like I said, in the My Rise, that was one of my biggest things off the rip. The amount of people that are in there that aren't in the game anymore. I liked that there was a lot more story in NXT in the Performance Center this time. Like you had to like play through the Performance Center. So for like, for example, at one point, like is one of the stories because like you get to walk around like you do if you played NBA 2K. Like you can go to different places. Like you can go to the pool hall. You can go to the locker room. You can go to. There's a few different places you can go, and based upon the things you pick, that determines where your story goes, obviously. But it was funny because like in the Performance Center, like they got this guy who's supposed to be like the big indie guy who was from Japan, and I whooped his ass in the beginning, and then later on, then you have like you have the Road Dogg who's not in WWE anymore. And then you tag team with X-Pac, who's not in WWE anymore. It was me and Road Dogg and X-Pac versus Shawn Michaels and the other two NXT kids that was in there. And then it's just like all kinds of different stuff, like a few other things that popped out. Jeff Hardy, who we just saw on AEW, comes out when you get into NXT to come save his boy Cameron Grimes. I thought that was pretty fucking funny because Jeff Hardy was never a heel in his life. Let's see. What were a few of the other things? So far the story's been all right. I like where we're going. Cody, hey, yo. We're talking about the WWE 2K22 game. I've been playing that a little bit. Cody, if you're trying to catch the smoke, come get some. But yeah, dude, I liked it so far. I'm interested to see where it goes. Like I gotta keep playing it. I've heard some people say that there's been some glitches like there was on the last one, but I haven't really seen anything. The biggest thing I will say is that things seem a lot smoother this time. Like the gameplay itself seems to really kind of like there's not really anything to where there's like the stops. Where a lot of times when you're watching wrestling or playing wrestling games, when you'll go from move to move to move, it doesn't ever really seem to like flow the way it would if you're watching it. Obviously, it's a video game, so that I've been impressed with. The graphics seem cool. I mean, shit, dude, it's been so long since I've sat down and played a wrestling game in general. I've just been enjoying sitting down to play it. Now I need to sit down and play some more of it, and we'll see what happens with it. But I mean, hey, dude, it is what it is. Well, yeah. So go ahead.
Before we jump off the point, I actually got a little surprise review myself because I was able to pick up the Oculus 2 come Monday. So I actually did a little gaming myself for the first time come VR boxing style. So quick little run through on that for any of you guys that haven't been able to go down that road. That shit was genuinely entertaining. I know it's been talked about a million times. Pat McAfee, somebody who actually genuinely made me interested in wanting to try it myself. And yeah, it was fun. I was sweating my ass off for about 6 hours in my fucking living room touching my fan. It was a fucking great time though, man. It really was. For any of you guys that may have been curious or anything like that, I genuinely
and this is this is VR, so this is
the full VR
headset. Clear the kids out unless they want to get punched in the face type thing. Right?
Yeah. Stay out the room. I'm not trying to kick you in the face. Like,
oh, Robin, my old lady, she was making fun of me so bad for punching the air. I mean, my shoulders and shit are all burnt out from fucking 5 hours. It was a great time.
Shit, I'm tired. Fuck. This round almost over. Fuck.
You got getting a workout while you're playing video games, man. Right? Fuck it.
It was the biggest workout. I mean, like, I go hard when I go to the gym, right? Like, I mean, Kyle, you can attest. Like, we go when we go, right? Like, my treadmill.
When's the last time you and I went to the gym, motherfucker?
When we were going steady about 8 months ago.
I just busted balls.
It's got to be yesterday for it to be real. What the fuck?
Hey,
But what I'm getting at is I got just as real of a workout from doing that for a couple hours, which granted, I don't usually work out for fucking 4 hours in a row or something along those lines. But gaming as hard as I did on an Oculus set, having fun while doing it, yeah, I burned an insane amount. I had to shower once I was done playing the game. That's how much I sweated playing fucking Oculus boxing.
I wish I could have just fucking recorded this for like the reels for
Hey,
Instagram.
you know
Like
it's
this
real.
would have been
You know-
this
you
would have
know
been
it's a hell of a video
A1
game.
content.
It's a hell of a video
absolutely
game. You got to take a
positive
shower
Robin's
right
got a video
after.
somewhere on her phone of me punching the air.
Hot
I'll
damn
have
it.
to ask
I hope
for it.
I can see this. I want to try it too, first of all.
Somebody tweet
But-
that video out.
You
would
got to.
have her tweet it out.
You definitely
We
got
need to
That's
see
fine.
that video.
I got to see it. I got to see what's up. But, you know, I've already shelled out money, and I would be remiss if I didn't, you know, talk about where I'm headed in a couple weeks. But speaking of money and all those things, you know, it's tax season, motherfuckers. And I've got just the people for you. You got to check out our homies, our newest sponsor. Shout out to Jack Gerard and the homies at G3 Payroll and Tax. If you need anything from your bookkeeping to your taxes to business taxes to payroll and all that good stuff under one umbrella, check out G3 Payroll and Tax. Like I said, the link is in the description, and tell them Knockouts in 3 Counts sent you. All right. Well, we've talked about the fact that WrestleMania already got my money. Priest, what are your thoughts as we head into WrestleMania? Are you excited for this WrestleMania? Is it one of those where there's only like a couple matches that are piquing your fancy? Where are you at as we head into Dallas?
Can't remember the last time I was excited for a WrestleMania. So, I mean, honestly, like once I became a wrestler, like I haven't been excited for any show. Like no matter who the company is, it's just kind of how it is. But no, you know, of course, like seeing Pat McAfee and Austin Theory, I'm intrigued by that. I'm intrigued by all the celebrity matches. Like that's WrestleMania. Like,
Do you think there's too
always,
many? Because a lot of people are bitching
No,
that
it's
there's
too
too many
nice.
celebrity matches.
It's 2 nights. So yeah, most years they've had 2 celebrity matches in one night. So why not do 3 over 2? You know, get more viewership. And they've got different types of celebrities, right? Because you've got like Logan Paul's doing a match, isn't he?
Yep,
I don't even
it's
know
him
the
and the
card.
Miz. It's so Logan Paul and the Miz versus the Mysterios.
Oh, that's
You
right.
got-
That's right.
Actually doing a match this time and not just an appearance.
Yeah.
No, it's
So
him
I
and the
mean,
Miz
that's
tag
a whole demographic of people that you're appealing to, and then you know McAfee's got the sports folks, and then you know Johnny Knoxville has the Jackass folks. I mean, it's a melting pot of people coming together, and I'm excited to see the 3 celebrity matches. I'm always intrigued by celebrity matches. Roman and Brock, you know, they always have a good match, and it's going to be different with Roman and the heel role and Brock as a baby face. So yeah, outside of that, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to do like the Andre Battle Royal and the Women's Battle Royal and all that stuff, which I'm always down for. But what is Austin wrestling Kevin Owens, or is it just like a talk show
So
thing?
they're trying to play it off like it's a talk show, but from everything I've seen, everything I've heard, especially, I'll give them this. Dave LaGreca said it on Busted Open this morning. When they did what they did on Raw last night, where they had Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins face each other, and then the winner was going to have the talk show with Austin. I'm like, what in the fuck is this shit? And obviously, thankfully, Kevin Owens won. I feel like the story is already basically built in, being the fact that Austin gave him the stunner and all those things. Honestly, the more I've thought about it, so I think there's going to be a match. But what I think is going to eventually, the way I think it'll play out more than anything, especially with the fact that maybe like Seth Rollins has been so involved, what if they do like a thing where you do the KO show is going to be on night 1? They already said that. And they, you know, and Austin hits him with a stunner and leaves him laying and says, I'll see you tomorrow night, or whatever the fuck the case might be. Because I'm still trying to figure out what is going to happen with Seth Rollins, because Seth Rollins, quote unquote, doesn't have a road to WrestleMania. This could be total left field thinking, but what if Seth Rollins comes out to interrupt the KO show again, and maybe, I don't know, Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins versus Stone Cold and The Undertaker. I don't know, because
But he doesn't have a road to WrestleMania. That's what they're saying.
Okay. Yeah, they're saying they were trying to win the tag titles.
I love his reaction. He's like, okay.
Yeah,
I see what they're doing.
Yeah.
He's gonna cross a road here real soon.
I think so too.
You can tell where his mind's at already.
I mean, dude, honestly, like, it was all over Twitter on Raw. Like, everybody's like, oh shit, Cody's coming out. Like, okay, I've thought about that too. Now, I'm also going to be at the Raw after Mania with the homie Mega Ran. I think if we're going to see Cody Rhodes, I don't think we see Cody Rhodes until, if he is going to come to WWE, and it is what people are trying to say, like him coming at WrestleMania and all that. I think, if anything, if that's what you're going to do, I'd rather see him come out the Raw after Mania.
I feel like the iron was hot a month ago, and now it's cooling. However, if both nights are sold out, it doesn't matter. Like, They can turn Austin and do a match, and they can turn Cody as a surprise. But if the nights aren't sold out, they need to move tickets. Wouldn't hurt to hot shot an angle.
I don't think they're sold out, because before,
maybe that's what they're waiting on. Maybe that's what they're waiting for. If
waiting for Cody to show up?
I mean, even if that's the case, who knows? You know what I mean? I mean, nothing's confirmed, right? Maybe we should just go on Twitter and ask the guy. Let's just go on there and ask him. Listen, what the fuck's going on, man? Just tell us. Give us a scoop.
Because that's definitely going to be how that works. Fuck, if that made it, if that was how
if he at least likes it, all you got to do is like it, and then it's confirmed. What you want to do?
Well, all you got to do is read it off Dave Meltzer. Come on now. If you read it from Dave Meltzer, it's got to be
changed 7 times this week.
Right. God.
See, Susan says she thinks the Cody Rhodes thing is a work, or do you think he's not leaving AEW?
We had already kind of speculated about it on the show, and especially with the accusation of Ring of Honor and everything like that. I mean, it kind of makes perfect sense. They're not necessarily friends, and they have different disputes, but yet they're still business partners running different brands under the same umbrella. Yeah.
And the fact we're talking about it and don't know is good for pro wrestling as we loop this.
I agree 100%.
As we loop this back to Scott Hall at the very beginning when he went to WCW, like, if everybody knew, it wouldn't have the impact. So the Cody Rhodes thing still has people talking. However, like, it's not as hot as it was a month ago. People are still talking about it because no one knows for sure. And like I said, I'm sure Meltzer's stories changed 7 times in the last 2 days on what's going to happen.
I'll just say right here, dude, I hope he doesn't. For a guy that good, and he's always been good, I don't want to see him back in WWE. It just, history shows, man, like, it's just not where you want to be right now, especially right now. There's no, I mean, money is money, right? Everybody wants to be paid, and that's what it's going to come down to. He's got to support his family and everything, but when it comes to creative control and just the art behind the wrestling, I feel like it gets taken away if he goes back there, because he's been there and he sees what happens. So you revolutionized over here.
There's more to it than that. You've got goals, you've got dreams. His first run in WWE didn't go as he'd hoped. So he still could be looking at this as this is his last chance to possibly be a WWE World Champion. That might be a goal he's had. And I mean, in AEW, I mean, he was wrong there. I don't blame him for leaving at all.
Ooh, Donald coming in hot. He said he's not that good, though. A top mid-carder at best. Damn.
I tend to agree there. However, in AEW, he was their top guy for a while there. He was outdrawing. Yeah. I mean, he drew their houses at the very beginning. He was their biggest star. So he kind of proved he could be a top guy. But yeah, in the WWE world, he'll probably just get lost on mid-card shuffle.
Cody says Cody says he thinks he's going to end up back in WWE, man.
What a shift that would be, though. Holy shit.
You know, I agree. If he went back to WWE, it'd be crazy. But the more I think about it, especially after what Priest said, I kind of agree. I think the fact that we really honestly, like, I've thrown around both ideas. I've thought about him coming back and then somehow being at the front of ROH and, whatever. I've also thought about him going back to WWE, because the one thing that, Cody has in the back of his pocket for this one is that if he goes back to WWE now, whether Vince saw value in him before or not, you can't not say he doesn't have value now, being that he just came back from AEW. He's a proven
commodity.
It's like Lashley and McIntyre.
110%. 110%. I agree completely. You talk about a guy who's went and, remade himself and been able to reinvent himself for all intents and purposes. I mean, if you listen to that last promo that he cut before he went out of AEW, where he was basically saying that he was the forbidden door. I mean, dude, when you really think about it, that initial run when he first left WWE, forbidden door shit, I mean, he was one of the first ones that was showing up everywhere. And you didn't know where he was going to show up, when he was going to show up. I completely agree with it. Hey, Phil, we see in the comments, have him run NXT. Dusty was a big part of that. I don't think NXT is going to look anything like that anytime soon anymore, brother. I really don't.
Honestly, though, NXT right now looks exactly how it did 8 years ago before it got overrun with the indie talent. Like, that's just what NXT was supposed to be. Think about it when it first popped up on WWE Network. Every guy had a gimmick. You didn't know who anybody was. It was cartoon wrestling.
Yeah.
And then they brought in all the indie guys and they made it, a high quality wrestling show where every match was a banger. And, it just wasn't drawing new fans to it. So now
I think. Go ahead.
Now they're trying to redraw new fans to their products. They're introducing new talent with gimmicks, no matter who it is. WWE's product, I've said it on this podcast before, they're not appealing to hardcore wrestling fans. They never have. They're appealing to the person flipping through the channels that's going to try to stop on their show. And people don't flip through channels anymore, so it's not the best. I'm not saying it's genius. I'm just saying that's what they're trying to do, is they're just trying to suck in somebody and grab somebody's attention and create find new fans. And that's what NXT is right now, for better or for worse.
Donald says he thinks he goes to New Japan. Now, Donald, I got a bone to pick with what you said about Lashley. Now, first of all, Lashley went 15-2 in MMA, dog. Like, come on, man. Like, he didn't get his ass whooped the whole time he was over there. Son of a bitch. Like, I mean, dang, he came right for the jugular for Lashley. I mean, I got to stick up for him a little bit. Hot damn.
Right.
Corey, what was your thoughts on Bobby Lashley's MMA run? And I got to give him credit because he was running his MMA run while he actually was still wrestling too, not like what we saw from Jake Hager, because Jake Hager got muffed up. But
I wonder what's ever going to happen of that experiment. Is he ever going to return back to Bellator, or what the deal is with old Jake Hager? But no, Lashley, I mean, whether you were necessarily super entertained, right? He was the big guy that was able to, more often than not, maul people to victories. He was still the big ass guy that was able to maul people to victories. And he was entertaining as shit, really, in my opinion, as somebody who watches MMA, on such a regular basis. I enjoy when somebody's able to just put on a display of dominance like he was able to in a lot of his fights. His size was just such a factor against people, man, and it really, if anything, I feel like his MMA career, it was right on the pinnacle where it was about to reach that next big step, and it was either the perfect position to kind of tee him into the world of wrestling even further and kind of be a bigger springboard, which it ended up being, or to further progress his career in MMA.
Dang, he is throwing zingers at Lashley, son of a bitch.
I mean, yeah. He killed Bob Sapp, right?
Yeah.
And then there was a local dude.
Donald's got to change his Twitter name to Donald Don't Play, because he's just throwing him out there, dude.
All I remember Bob Lash in MMA was he destroyed Bob Sapp. He beat a couple other guys. He lost to I think it was Chad Griggs, Strikeforce. That was his loss. Then he got into Bellator. He beat the shit out of the guy from like Detroit. It was some local.
Yeah, Josh Burns, past guest of the show. Yeah,
beat the shit out of him. But he had a loss to James Thompson, who was a former contender for championships.
I remember
he avenged that loss like a couple of years later in Bellator, he beat James Thompson, who's accomplished martial artist. I don't know if he fought after he beat James Thompson, got the win back, but I mean, he had a solid MMA run. He beat the guys he beat, and the Chad Griggs fight was really the only upset. He was an underdog when he fought Thompson the first time and lost. He was an underdog when he fought Thompson the second time, and he beat James Thompson. So
he ended his career on an 8-fight win streak. I mean, you can say he was fighting cans, or you can say whatever the hell he wants. Yeah, that's
stepped in the cage.
That 8 wins in a row. That's and then to be like, I could transition this into the UFC. I could try to make big bucks off of this, or I could try to pursue something that makes me happier in wrestling, and that's the route he chose. So I don't hate the guy at all.
And he was in his late 30s and early 40s doing some of these fights, because he's like 44, 45 right now.
That's the thing. People don't realize because of how he looks, how old how long Bobby Lashley's really been around.
Yeah.
He's 45 right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, those Bellator fights, he had to be 40 because he was still in Impact. Those had to be like 2017.
16 was
so,
the last one.
Yeah. I mean, so he's 39, 38, 39.
I mean, and that's when most guys are really kind of getting at their last, when it comes to the fights. Yeah. Man, Donald is not a fan of Bobby Lashley at MMA. I just hope that we see Bobby Lashley get to come back and have his run, because that's a fucking bummer. The way he had to lose the belt like that, to have his shoulder be fucked up, and he gets taken out of the Elimination Chamber and doesn't even get to have the match. And then he was supposed to. Well, hot damn, are we going into a rave, J-Bone? Shit.
Yeah, you see that? What's going on here?
It's a cursed WrestleMania with injuries. They release a ton of talent, and then all these guys.
All that stuff they had lined up.
Yeah, I mean, Lashley out. Who knows what he was supposed to do? I mean, it almost feels like they were going to do Big E and Lashley. Is how it felt like to me, and then they just had to reverse course.
I know,
Donald, I'm going to have to table this conversation, because you and I are going to have to talk about this the next time we talk, because I can't hate on Bobby Lashley because the UFC didn't sign him, though, dude.
Lesnar had tougher opponents for sure. Lesnar did.
For sure. He won the fucking belt.
Lesnar got thrown into the deep end, though.
Yeah.
Off the rip.
Went swimming.
His first Frank Mir, here you go.
Right
twice, back to back, too.
There's no question Lesnar had tougher opponents, but Bob Lashley's still had to fight some guys.
Somebody though, because they didn't immediately swim with the Sharks, even with his prestige. Just because he wasn't quite as good as maybe the guy that you're trying to compare him to. It's like he still had his moments. He still definitely had his moments, and there's a reason why pro wrestling was such a springboard once he did show such success in MMA, even if it was fighting cans. I mean, even if it was fighting no names. I mean,
it definitely gave him a different.
And I maybe because I am such.
Damn, Susan isn't fucking with Bobby either. Why do you not like Bobby? Wow. Damn, what did Bobby do to piss everybody off tonight, man?
I have such a different opinion though on all these wrestlers, whether they went to wrestling from MMA or whether they went from wrestling to MMA. I respect the shit out of it. It takes anybody, it takes some nuts to step in the cage and fight another trained human being, especially where a lot of those guys, they're spreading their focus. That might not be their main thing. In Brock Lesnar's case, I mean, shit, he didn't really start focusing on training until I think he said 6 months or something, before he planned on.
Dude, he didn't even train for a full fucking year before he maybe might have trained for a full year before he fought.
He said it on the Pat McAfee interview. I forget. I think he said it was 8 months or something before he planned on getting out of his WWE contract. So, for a lot of these guys, like the CM Punks and stuff of the world, they're not doing it as a hobby. I don't want to describe it as a hobby, but they're doing it as a pleasure pursuit. They're not looking to maybe become the best in the world or something like that, but they do want to test themselves against real opponents on a bright light, spotlit stage. And I can't fault these people for it, man. I respect the hell out of them, whether or not they have a.
Lesnar will always be the gold standard as far as from wrestling to MMA. That's like there's no other way to put it. He went in, he won the fucking UFC championship. He knocked out Randy Couture. Like, I mean, you can't really say anything. Ultimately, Brock will always be the measuring stick as far as that goes. I mean, I think that goes without saying as far as wrestling. But to your point, you can't shit on Lashley either because, I mean, hey, he got signed by Bellator. He won in Bellator. It's not like he took a bunch of losses. There's been a lot of other guys that we've seen.
Even like the likes of Hager, right? Like we really want to talk about fighting some lower level competition. Jake Hager's fighting some lower level competition, but he fucks around and loses one of these matchups. Guess what happens, man? That whole thing that he's got going on, the whole tough guy persona and shit, that falls out the window. He might be able to save a bit of that on the wrestling end for the people that didn't tune in on the other side, but he's really laying a lot of his reputation on the line, whether or not he's fighting quality talent or not. I mean,
you're not kidding. I mean, in wrestling, he was already a made man when he left, dude. So, like I said, I mean, it is what it is. But like I said, we've been flapping our gums for a long fucking time at this point. Priest, like I said, before we get out of here, man, is there anything else you wanna plug, talk about, chat about, all that kind of good shit?
I know. Yeah. First things first. I've got my podcast on Ramblings of the Grappleman Network. They are what they are. A lot of football talk in there lately, especially with Super Bowl ending. We did a recap. We'll probably do a free agency one coming up. We might dip our toes in a little bit of March Madness on the sports.
What are your thoughts on Russell Wilson?
It was a good trade for both teams. I think Denver is going all in to win within the next 2 or 3 years. Seattle got a lot of good young talent in the end. So we'll see. It wasn't working in Seattle, so maybe he's the missing piece for Denver, who has a great defense. But we'll see. I think it's a good move. Outside of that, I've got a few wrestling shows on the network that I want to get out there. Just haven't had the right timing yet. A little deep dive into a few topics. We'll get to that. I've started developing with a new podcast called Time Blaster Toycast. Working with Keith and Joe at Retro KO and at Time Blaster Toys. We recorded at Time Blaster Toys in Westland, Michigan. I helped them out with their first episode, probably help out with their others. Episode 1 was just released on Monday, yesterday. We talked about the Hasbro Series 1 line and broke that down. It's called Time Blaster Toycast. Great store in Westland, Michigan as well. So you have more coming out. We talked a little bit of video games in this podcast. I kept my mouth shut because I haven't played a wrestling video game since Legends of Wrestling on PS2. And but we're going to be talking Nintendo NES from the 80s on the next podcast. It'll be dropping in 2 weeks. So new podcast adventure in the toy world. I don't know much about the toys, but the other two guys do, and I am just kind of like the question asker, if you will.
I like it. So you're trying to channel your inner Matt Cardona.
I don't. He's the Zack Ryder, right?
He's yeah.
I have never listened to their show. I'm not a big toy person. I don't collect toys. I am an old man. I don't collect toys. I don't play video games. So yeah, but they do. I mean, he like said, Keith runs the toy store. They're passionate about toys, so I can just come in, hook some podcast stuff up, ask questions because I really don't know. I don't know anything. I had the Hasbro guys as a kid, but I couldn't tell you anything about them. I'm not Matt Cardona, but they're going to do all kinds of stuff. Ninja Turtles, I think, is coming up, and Power Rangers, and He-Man, and Barbie, and Star Wars. Whatever.
That Barbie episode's going to be a banger.
Polly Pocket, I'm sure. Strawberry Short, any of that stuff. There was a toy made of it. Let the experts are going to talk about it. I don't know jack shit, but I'll ask questions. That
I've been getting into these little guys. I just showed you this earlier, but look, I want to get one of these guys made of myself. You imagine this little dude with the straight hat and all that stuff?
Do it up.
That'd be great.
I want mine sort of to look like Freddie Mercury a little bit. I want a mic in my hand. So
okay, Shinsuke.
Well, I know we're running a little long, and I know you're looking to wrap, Kyle, but I cannot let us not say anything about UFC London finally making their way back to fight nights on the road. This time overseas, UFC London, return of Paddy to Batty.
Yeah.
Tom Aspinall.
Patty the Batty needs to learn. I'll let you talk about this first, but that motherfucker needs to watch what he puts on social media. But
we got Dan Hooker in the co-main event against a very underrated Arnold Allen. It's just it's a all around like a banger of a fight night. I'm not going to try to go through fight by fight because we're already at the hour and a half mark, but finally getting back on the road, boys. I'm so happy to see it. We got two weekends in a row. This weekend in London, the next one in Columbus. Finally out of the Apex. Thoughts?
Hey, Patty the Batty was my prospect of the year when we did our year-end award shows, man. So hopefully, don't let me down this weekend.
What do you think about that shit with him and Ilya Taporia, bro?
I didn't get to catch all that.
I think
he shouldn't have said the shit he did, though.
But I think Ilya Taporia, I didn't get to see I seen the clip that he posted online. Ilya did, or however you properly pronounce his name. And basically it looked like he walked up to him, kind of shoved a drink or something at him, and then turned away as if he didn't want to actually deal with like what he just started.
Well, it wasn't. I'm not talking about the confrontation. The reason they had the confrontation was because of what Patty said about his country on social media and shit.
That being, let's hear.
I mean,
I'm going to ask a question here, talking about Patty the Batty, because it's a fight that I think will be a good one and a big drawing fight in a couple of years. But I think they're in different weight classes by like 10 pounds. Patty the Batty, what weight class is he?
55.
55.
Because Sean O'Malley is 35, right?
Yeah.
Because that'd be a fight I'd give. Here's my money. Sugar Sean, Patty the Batty, they would talk people in and bang. So it ain't gonna happen though, unless they go to 45. But
maybe they can meet at 45 or something.
They've already.
Okay, so this is from MMA Junkie. It says, Ilya Tapora hopes to cross with Patty Pimblett. Animosity stems from an online exchange from early 2021 when Pimblett poked fun at the Russo-Georgian War of 2008. I don't know him, but the first interaction I had with him was because he was arguing with Guram. I don't know how the fuck to say his name. I'm not sure why or what they were talking about, and all of a sudden I read something. I think like, now I know why Russia bombed Georgia. You guys are a bunch of idiots.
Jeez.
Okay. That would be a punchable offense, maybe.
I mean, when you're from Georgia and you fucking, I'm sorry.
And you talk about our whole country being bombed. Yeah, it's not a great look.
In a war. We're not just talking about, hey, they fought. My shit got bombed.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, you got nothing.
Yeah, let's not say that.
Let's just let that one go. Patty, I'm just going to say somebody needs to tell Patty you should think before you post on social media. And you know what else you should do on social media or the podcast platforms or all them motherfuckers. Make sure you're at BCWA this morning, Jesus Christ. And make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the great shit from your friends over here at Knockouts and Three Counts. And just so you're wondering if there's going to be a show on Thursday, there's not, because they're going to rip my fucking teeth out. So it's going to make doing a podcast kind of hard. So like I said, if you're in the area, check out BCWA. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're in town for WrestleMania, come get you some. Who knows where the hell I'm going to end up? Hell, Lindsay Snow might tattoo me again. Who knows what I come back with from Dallas. But all the more reason you got to hit subscribe. We will see you guys later. Peace.